This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, but boasting a beautiful Toronto background behind me. I just got back from Frightmare on the Falls, wonderful vacation, but now it's back to the real world, back to the grind, and back to doing awesome interviews, with some awesome guests. And first up here on November the 1st, 2025, we got a guy that back in the day might have rented videotapes, might have rented cars, he might have rented anything. He also rents pals. Folks, I just saw the movie Rent-A-Pal, and it's celebrating its 5-year anniversary. And I was like, I got to get somebody on the show. And what better way to do that than with the star of the movie himself? Yes, folks, I give you the awesome Brian Landis Folkins. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Folkins.
Folkins. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I never heard that last name before. Where's that originate?
Oddly, there's a big contingency up in Canada.
Oh, really?
Actually, the Folkins family reunion happens up in Canada every summer.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean, we go, it's basically European mutt. You know what I'm saying? Like we're all basically European mutts here in the States. So yeah.
Wow. Well, you know what? Welcome to the show. I thought
Thank
this was an interesting movie, very much interesting movie, and it caught my attention. I was like, I'm going to check this out. But before we get to that and some of your other films, I would like to get a little bit of your background and what led you to get into the arts.
Sure, sure. Yeah. So I was born in California. We didn't stay there very long. We were there for maybe 4 or 5 years and then migrated to the East Coast. And most of my childhood was in North Carolina, small town in North Carolina called High Point, which boasted the furniture capital of the world. A lot of furniture comes from the area, Thomasville and whatnot. And so most of my upbringing was down in the South there. I went through a little bit of a juvenile delinquent patch and had to get out of North Carolina. So I moved to where my father was at the time in Denver, Colorado, just outside of Denver, in Highlands Ranch, Colorado, and finished my high school there and was very much steeped in the theater. Um, I can, ever since I was I think my first show was 5 years old, and I was in an alphabet play, and I was the letter F for fancy feet. And I did a ridiculous little dance, and the audience laughed and clapped, and I was hooked. And so I kind of chased stories ever since. Out of high school, had a really good theater teacher in high school that kind of gave me some opportunities. And then I started doing theater professionally at age 20 and have been a professional actor ever since. So been doing it for a long time. And then, I was really interested in movies, but didn't have a whole lot of outlets.
Hmm.
So I would do short films and student films and whatever I could, get my hands on, doing theater the whole time. And then I just got some really cool opportunities in film. And now I squarely do film and television and still go back to the theater to keep me sharp. I do some motion capture for video games, but pretty much whatever I can do to stay engaged with storytelling.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you what might be a tough question. I've asked this to guests before. Between movies, television, and theater, which one do you prefer?
It's a good question because there's
Mhm.
not really a preference. It is a
I hear that
different,
a lot.
yeah, yeah. It's a different medium. And so what's required from the actor is a whole different thing. So, what I love about the theater is the exchange of energy. People come and commune, and there is a exchange between audience and artist that you can't replicate with film and TV. And it keeps me sharp. You're not doing 5 or 6 pages a day. You're doing the whole play, and so that keeps the mind activated. And there's just also, I will say, the thing about theater is that we have access to the most amazing stories that are out there. In film and television, there's a bunch of competition, and so they're all after getting those stories that have relevance or that have an impact. And theater, it's all at our fingertips. And so, the thing I love about film and television is that it's captured, forever, and you have a much wider reach in how you touch your audience. And that's, pretty magical as well. So I definitely like all of the mediums for different reasons.
You know what? That's a fantastic answer too. All
Uh,
three are very different too,
yeah, very different.
all related, but all very different, you know. I have your so I did have your IMDb. I'm gonna bring it up here
Yeah, yeah.
because I didn't recognize a lot of your films, but that's okay because you're gonna introduce listeners to them, you know.
Well, and like
But
I said, there's for a long time, in Denver, Colorado, which doesn't have a really big film incentive, we just
mhm.
didn't have access to, the quality or the scale of film and TV that, say a New Mexico or a Georgia or obviously a California has access to. And so, I did a lot of shorts and features
Mhm.
that most people didn't see.
That's okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We're going to introduce them because I really enjoyed Rent-A-Pal, and I'll tell
Good.
you one thing that resonated with me with that. Um, First off, can you believe it's been 5 years since you?
Can you believe it's been 7 since we shot it?
Oh
You know what I
wow,
mean? We shot
wow.
at the end of 2018,
Mhm.
starting in November. Took a break over the holidays. We kind of had to wait for Will Wheaton's schedule to open up. He came in January of 2019.
Mhm.
He shot all his stuff in a day. Guy was a trooper. Came in
Mhm.
and crushed it, as Crusher would, and and then we used that footage. And I was doing a play at the time, so I would shoot during the day, get off, and then go and do a performance at night. And it was kicking my butt, but I was living my best life. Being able to do both theater and film at the same time. But then
Yeah.
we wrapped early 2019, and then of course we had our COVID 2020 release, which I think was a blessing and the curse. I don't know if we would have picked up IFC had we not been in the middle of a pandemic and have everybody be kind of hungry for content and
Mhm.
material. And at the same time, we were in theaters 2 weeks after they had reopened. And so people weren't going to the theater at the time,
I
which really,
was.
yeah, well, I mean, I was too. But
I
with,
couldn't wait to get
oh, yeah,
back.
of course.
Yeah.
The other unique thing was we were in a lot of drive-ins, which had
Hmm.
a real good run summer of 2020 and into the fall. But it really impacted our box office, and which I think ultimately impact where the movie kind of ran, which was unfortunate. But it is what it is. At least it got out there.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I work as a cleaner. That's what I do for money.
Mm-hmm.
I work overnights and usually an average about 70 to 80 hours a week. And I worked through the pandemic. I didn't stop,
Wow.
you
Yeah.
know. Yep. And I'm going to tell you, I used to do these at the campus radio station. When pandemic happened, I had no way of doing these because
Yeah.
station was closed. It was actually Nancy McLaughlin from Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives,
Mm,
who is a friend of mine. She was the one that told me about Zoom.
yeah.
And I was like, wow. And I have a
Changed the
friend,
game.
yeah, well, she told me about Zoom, and a friend of mine, Carrie Yates, who's supported indie films out of the UK, she helped me get set up on Zoom.
Mm.
And now I don't have to leave my apartment.
It's
This is actually kind of cool to do
a
it this
good
way.
thing. I
Yeah,
think
and I
it's a
don't
good
have
thing.
don't have to book a studio at the station, make sure nobody
Yeah.
else has it. I love it.
Well,
So,
yeah, Zoom definitely changed the game. When in the pandemic, right off the bat, when we saw it was going to be more than a couple weeks, a lot of fellow artists and myself, we started doing Zoom plays. We
mhm,
started doing Zoom readings like by the end of March, beginning of April.
mhm.
And thank God we had that outlet so that we could continue because for what I did, everything stopped. There
Yeah.
was no outlet to do theater, film, television, nothing. And that was a very difficult time. I felt very grateful that I had Rent a Pal coming out in the fall
Mhm.
because it gave me something to look forward to. It also gave me success when a lot of other artists were not having any.
Yeah.
So it's a blessing and a curse.
Well, I remember like it's funny because I remember I was doing my get my taxes done on a Monday, the March 2020. And I was
Mhm.
going to go to the movie theater that Wednesday, and I thought, nah, I'm here at the mall. I'm going to go see The Hunt with Emma Roberts. So I'm like, I want to see The Hunt. I'm going to go. I'm at the mall. I'm going to go. So I went and saw The Hunt, discovered that was the last night the theater was going to be open. So I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm glad I saw it when I did.
it's a strange time.
Yeah. And I was like, oh man, 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 I want to go back to the theater. And eventually I started playing some older movies there, which I went to every one to
Wow.
the selected seating. I never got I never got the illness.
Sure.
Nope, I never did. I couldn't wait to get back in that theater. So
Yeah.
and I went to a bunch of films that they were playing that summer, and then finally they started putting stuff out, selected seating, and
Right.
and now we're back. But to me, it's like, I never stopped. I just wanted to get back in the theater, because I like watching movies with an audience, you
It's a
know?
true cinephile. A true
Yeah.
cinephile.
Well, when I was in Toronto, I just got back from Toronto. I mean, I went to like four movies while I was there during the week I was there. So,
Good.
and it was just nice to sit down and watch something with an audience, watch it on the
Yeah.
big screen. And
It's a
yeah,
different experience.
yeah, I have my Blu-ray player, and it's nice to watch, have my collection
But
and watch movies, but it's a whole different thing seeing a movie you're familiar with an audience because it gives you a
yeah,
whole different perspective.
absolutely.
Yeah. So I couldn't wait to get back. And uh, uh, they couldn't open those doors fast enough before I was barging through and opening up myself.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah. So I love it. I try to go to the movie theater at least once a week when I can. So
Great.
yeah. Yeah. So anyway, but you did Rent a Pal, and I saw that online here. I forget how I saw it. I just remember it grabbed my attention because
Mm.
I'm 53 years old now, but I still remember very much growing up. Um, I was socially awkward to an extent. I still am.
Mhm.
but it's nowhere near as bad, you know. But
Mhm.
back when I was younger, I didn't know how to handle friendships. I was very much a loner and socially awkward to the point where I didn't make friends easily, you know.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at Rent-A-Pal and I'm watching your character and I'm like, I can identify with what he's dealing with, you know, that yearning to connect
Yeah.
with another human being and struggling to do it. Talk about first getting that script and how you landed this role.
Absolutely. So, when this script came my way, I was going through a pretty challenging time in my life, coming out of a divorce and just so hungry for a meaty role that I could just kind of sink myself into. I'm very much a character actor, and I was, just putting it out there into the universe, manifesting, if you will, that something would come my way. And I had reached out to a friend of mine who I had done a film in 2016 with, called Hoax.
Yeah,
It's a
we're going to
little
talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little Bigfoot movie
Yeah.
that we shot up in Lake City, Colorado.
Hmm.
7 week shoot in the elements, and he was the first AC, first camera operator, and his name's John Stevenson.
Hmm.
And I reached out to him only because he had also just gone through a divorce, and I wanted to connect with him. And I was like, how are you since this has happened? How has it changed? You in the industry. And we connected on that. And he said, funny that you should reach out. I've got a script that I think you'd be perfect for. And I was out in California at the time, shooting a friend's wedding, taking stills of one of my best friend's wedding. And I was
Hmm.
at the hotel room, and he had sent me the script, and I was 9 or 10 pages in, and I contacted him, and I was like, I have to do this movie. And furthermore, I want to be a producer on it. I want to make sure this gets made. Whatever I have to do. And mind you, I had just started the script. I ended up finishing it, and it was just so unique. There was something so human about the character that I was drawn to. And I had a lot of stuff inside that I think that I could bring to this character. And so it was just a unique time in both of our lives. John will tell you that the script itself flew out of him. I think he finished it in like 2 weeks.
Well,
Really just kind of tumbled out of him. I don't know if you know, but it's based on an actual video that was called Rent a Friend. And
okay.
this is a video in the 80s where there was a gentleman sitting in an armchair and talking straight into the barrel, right down the lens, and saying a lot of the things that the rent-a-pal says, like, hi, my name is, what's your name? And he would wait. Oh, that's a good name. It suits you. And he would have this whole conversation. When Rent-A-Pal came out, I was thrifting, and I came across a copy of Rent-A-Friend
Oh, wow.
uh, while I was thrifting. So this is an actual copy of the Rent-A-Friend. Um, and it's amazing source material. You can go on YouTube and find it, and there's 42 minutes, and you can see where the idea is. So John came across this and then started exploring, what if there's someone that really was lonely and attached to a video like this, and it went deeper and deeper. So that's kind of where the idea was birthed.
I know if I rent a friend, I want that friend to look like Emma Stone.
Well, I mean, I also think of, like, it'd be great if it was Scarlett Johansson,
Yeah.
like the movie Her with Joaquin
Oh,
Phoenix.
yeah, that was a great movie.
Yeah. You know,
Hmm.
it's been compared to that, you know, relationship wise, obviously Taxi Driver,
Taxi Driver. Yep.
Joker, you
Yep.
know,
Yep.
these classic kind of lonely incel type characters that anything can happen because they're kind of so far gone in their head. But what,
Hmm.
you know, what's unique about David is he's very much an everyman, and that monologue that he has at the dating service, I think, was the linchpin for me for the audience to connect to that character, because you really see how kind and loving and simple this man was, that he just wanted companionship. He was just very lonely. And I think what was unique about this movie coming out in 2020 is that a lot of people were in that place. A
Hmm.
lot of people were looking desperately for a relationship. They had relationships with screens because that was the only thing. There was a lot of caregivers taking care of their parents that were sick. A lot of that loneliness was steeped in the country or around the world at that time. And so I think it was unique that Rinapao came out at that specific time. People definitely made that connection.
That's fantastic. Um, yeah, it was a great role. I loved it too because you're in the basement of the house that you grew up in, your character
Yes,
grew up in, and
right.
you know you got your own little space there, and it seems very cozy. You know, you can watch whatever you need to watch. Of
Yeah.
course, um, you know, my younger brother caregave for my parents for a long time. Dad passed away from ALS in 2022,
Sorry to
and
hear that.
yeah, he had for 8 years, which was a long time to have that. But
Absolutely.
yeah, and mom's got Parkinson's, and she's in a home
Oh
now.
my
But
goodness.
my brother was my younger brother. I'm a middle kid, but my younger brother would be the one that would go and look after that. And it's funny because um, when your character David is looking after his mother, I'm like, I can see my younger brother here, the frustrations and
Mhm.
you want to just lash out, but at the same token, this person can't help themselves, but they're pissing you off.
Yeah, yeah. No,
You
it's
know?
hard with conditions like that. You know, I looked into dementia
Uh-huh.
and looked into the kind of things that happen when you're talking to a loved one who doesn't recognize you, or is who's always mistaking you for their dead husband. I mean, it can slowly. It's the death of a thousand cuts, right? It slowly just pushes you and pushes you until a lot of times you crack. And hopefully you don't go as far as the movie goes, but you know, but it is something that's really challenging when you see, you know, a parent have that decline. And so there was a lot in David that I was like, I don't know what I would have done in that situation. So I'm able to like fully give myself to this character and just go on the journey.
Yeah. And as much as he wanted to be loving to his mom, I
Sure.
think that was one of the actually that I'd say that's the main thing that pivoted him to a dark path.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. You know, and when I came on board with the script, I was like, whoever is playing my mom has to be amazing, because she has only these little lines here and there, but you have to believe the relationship. And I suggested to the director this lady named Kathy Brady, who
Hmm.
was a veteran of the Denver Center Theater Company, did theater there for 25 years. I had grown up watching her. And I said, if you can get her, she would be amazing. And she had only done a few little things. She had a small part in Breaking Bad, but mostly was a stage actress. And thankfully, she came on board, and her and I would sit in the house that we shot in which oddly was right next to John, the director's house. So production house was his house, and then next door was our shooting location, which was very convenient for us. But we would sit in that house and we would run lines and have lunch and talk to each other and share our family experiences, our relationship with our mothers. Like we bonded for a good week or two just being in the space. And I think that is reflected on the screen. You really see the relationship that we spent time on. And to this day, every maybe 3 or 4 months, we'll go have lunch and
Is it
have a
macaroni?
sandwich. And no, we avoid the macaroni. We definitely avoid the macaroni and cheese. We'll go have a sandwich. And
She
but I
doesn't
still,
ask for macaroni.
yeah, I still keep in touch with her, and she's a sweetheart and
She was amazing.
a masterful actor. Yeah,
Uh, uh, yeah, there's a scene where she ends up on the floor during a very tense scene.
very
And
tense
oh
moment.
my goodness, I was like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, you feel so, you can understand the frustration, but at the same
Oh,
token, it's like, oh my goodness, you feel so bad.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
all the anxiety. You know, after we shot that scene, I had a difficult relationship with my mother, and so did Kathy. And after we shot that scene, it was her last day on set, and I had to step outside and compose myself because it was very emotional. And she came outside and she looked at me, and we kind of just talked with our eyes. We didn't say anything, but it was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah." "Are you okay?" "Yeah." "Okay, we're safe. We're comfortable. I love you. You know, you love you." And that was it. Like we just understood what was needed in that moment, and then we understood what we needed to do to take care of ourselves. And it took me a good 10, 15 minutes when that was done to like come back to center and finish the day. Yeah, that was a hard scene.
She sold it, I'll tell you
Oh
that.
man,
Yeah,
beautifully, beautifully.
yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about Will Wheaton because I wonder
Definitely.
did he have because they say a lot of times when you make a movie, independent or not, and independent movie, it's a hit or miss, but they say it helps to get a star,
Yes,
you know,
help
and
sell it.
yeah, so um, and Will Wheaton was very interesting. It's like this is something very different for him,
Yeah,
and of course he's the character you see on the screen,
yeah,
and it almost gives you this. I don't know if you saw the horror movie Black Phone, but it kind of
yeah.
almost takes that kind of
It
not quite the
does.
same way,
No, but yeah,
but
I
there's
know
a
what you
little
mean.
bit of a supernatural thing going on
Hmm.
without it. It still remains grounded,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So yeah, so talk about Will Wheaton coming
Sure.
in.
When we were looking for who we wanted to play the rent-a-pal,
Mhm.
um, John really wanted an '80s star, and because it takes place in 1990, right at the end of the '80s, it has
Mhm.
that '80s vibe. He really wanted to go after that, and he had a short list of about 5 people, and I think he reached out to a couple of them and couldn't get a response or someone wasn't interested, and somehow the casting director had a relationship with Will Wheaton's people, and so sent it to Will, who was on that short list, and it got to him and he read it, and he called John specifically, and I remember John was freaking out. It's like, Will Wheaton called me, and he had a few concerns about the script. um Overall, he was like really taken with it, and he was like, well, if we can address these few things, then I'm on board. And so getting him was a big win for us, being
Yeah.
in Denver, Colorado. Not a lot of film gets made, and he's very selective about the projects that he involves himself in. I thought it was such a good fit. And I'll tell you, he had come from a Star Trek cruise where he was working. That's why we had to wait a while for him to come in. And he was here for a day. He was prepared. He came in with a bunch of ideas and just knocked it out of the park. I mean, he was so professional, so engaging, so believable in that role because it's a hard role. You want to be someone that you can connect with, right? So that David would be drawn into that world. And at the same time, it's just off from center.
Mm-hmm.
And, I thought he played that line so well, and so believable. And like I said, that day he came in, I wasn't obviously shooting that day, but I came in on a break from rehearsal and sat with him at lunch, and we kind of talked to each other and talked about, anxiety and the kind of stuff that he's been through with his parents, finding success at a young age, and how his dad really was a terrible human and he had a rough go of it growing up. And it was just a really nice to connect with him. The next morning, we took some photos that were used in the movie, and he flew away. And a couple weeks later, they had cut together what they called the rent-a-pal tapes, and I would watch those, the Andy tapes, and rehearse because my relationship with Will was on a screen, and so I had to act like I'm watching the footage for the first time and react to my acting partner was actually on a screen. And so, having those tapes helped me a lot, so that when we got back to shooting, I was ready to, act with a screen. But having Will really elevated our film and was able to get better distribution because of it. And oddly, I think that this film was his last film. He said that he was retiring from film after this particular movie, so that's really interesting. He still does, his podcast stuff and video game stuff and voiceover and narration for books, but he doesn't do movies anymore.
Well, now, why is that? Do you know?
I don't know. I think he has found, I don't want to speak for him, but from what
That's
I
okay.
understand,
Mm-hmm.
I think he has found his lane in what he's comfortable in,
Sure.
and he, is joyful around it about, narration, the audiobooks and the video game type stuff he does. I mean, he's done some, little Star Trekky things here and there, but uh, it's just, I think, a comfort level of where he's gotten in his life and where he's happiest. Yeah. So we feel very lucky to have gotten him when we did.
Well, he was fantastic in
Oh,
it,
so good. Yeah.
you know. Let's talk about Amy Rutledge.
Rutledge. Yeah.
Yeah, she,
Amy came to us uh, straight through like an Actors Access auditioning platform, as we were looking for who the girlfriend was going to be. Uh, I want to say at the time she was based in New York, and the glasses that she wears in the movie, she had and auditioned with them and was just so perfect for the role, that we ended casting her out of New York and flew her out twice, two different times to do the film, and she just was amazing. Um, we immediately, connected and was able to bring those two characters and have them have a good chemistry. Yeah, she's quite the actress. She's now based in LA, in California, and still is doing great work.
One of the things I liked about her character, like I kept rooting, I
Of
want to see a
course.
connection there because when the mother goes missing,
Yeah.
I mean, she's like David's panicking, but she
Yeah.
kind of keeps things together. And I'm like, this is what everybody needs in a partner, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. To
Yeah.
balance out. I mean, it's what's so sad about the film is that everything that he wanted, everything that he said in his original dating profile monologue,
Hmm.
he got in Amy's character.
Yeah.
Everything, and you just think that, oh my God, after the roller skating scene,
Hmm.
you think that this is going to be David's out. He's going to find this perfect person. And, that's this crux of, and then you just see David slip into these poor choices and kind of swirl from there. And that's what's so crushing. And it's largely because of Amy's performance as I'm blanking her character name off the top of my head, but
Lisa.
Lisa, thank you.
Yeah.
As Lisa, that is so wonderful because it's a three-dimensional, beautiful
Hmm.
character. Yeah, she
One
did a
more.
great job.
Yeah, one more actor I want to touch on because this was actually kind of funny was Olivia Hendricks as Susan
Uh,
working at
and
the rental place.
Olivia is just she came in for maybe 2 hours, and she was given this copy, uh, and she was expected just to go sit in a big studio and do this very personal, um, dating profile, and just crushed it. I can remember watching that tape and as David falling in love with that character. She was so personal. She felt like she was from the 80s. Um, and it felt like, yeah, just put in a tape and hang out and watch a movie. And it was like perfect. But you can't live in your parents' basement. It was like, boom, turn the TV off. I can't. David just like, then you get to really see the reveal of who David is. Yeah, Olivia was wonderful in that role.
Yeah, yeah. What was it? Did you go to the premiere of the film, or was there a premiere
We
for the
didn't
film?
have one.
Okay,
Uh,
yeah. Darn
we
maybe COVID.
because of COVID, we missed
Yeah.
out. No red carpet premiere, no cast and crew screening.
Did you
Um,
get to see it on the big screen?
I did. I went.
Oh,
Alamo
nice.
was playing the movie, and I went to some screenings. I had some friends that were coming. Talked to them afterwards. Our press junket was even over Zoom, which
Hmm.
is very hard. For an actor that's trying to gain some momentum, because those kind of things like the red carpet and the press junket is where you start to get the next role, is where you start
Hmm.
to get more work. Even festival, we went to the Grimm Festival in the UK digitally, and both John won best screenplay and I won best actor, and had to accept over Zoom. Like I think I was in a parking lot because I was traveling, and I was in a rental car as I was zooming, accepting this award, which was just kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So yeah, we never had any kind of premiere or any of that stuff, which again, we were talking before, it's a bittersweet thing.
Hmm.
Would have loved to have something like that, but it just wasn't in the cards.
Well, I really enjoyed this film and I related
Good.
to a lot of stuff with it. But I do want to touch on Hoax.
Sure.
Yeah, because
So Hoax is it's a little film about Bigfoot. It was kind of my first big break as far as like the level of talent that I was working for. I had done a little short film probably 8 years before with the writer director Matt Allen and the DP Scott Park, who also Scott Park, was one of the writers on Hoax and the DP, and he came on to be the DP on Rent-A-Pal, and is why it has such a good look. Scott Park is a brilliant director of photography. So yeah, we did this little movie called Hoax, Bigfoot movie, with Brian Thompson, who, if you look up his IMDb, it's long, wide, and deep. The man is a legend, probably close to 40 years in the business. And Ben Browder, who sci-fi fans might know him from SG-1, Farscape, shows like that. Those were the kind of two big names. And then we had some other people, Hutch Dano, Shoshana Bush, a handful of other, decently known actors. And it was, Matt Allen, who I'd done this film with 8 years prior, was like, I'm going to put you in my movie, my feature movie when it comes around. And I was like, you hear that all the time. And you're like, yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. And true to form, a year before we started shooting, he reached out and said, what are you doing next summer? And I was like, working on your movie. And so we went to Lake City, 7 weeks of shooting, 3 of which were overnights. It was at times a very brutal shoot. But it was something, very special to me. And for that movie, after I had shot Rent-A-Pal in 2019, we had the full premiere and the screening, and then we went to California and did some things out there, and so I had the full experience with that film, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, Brian Thompson he was one of the punks in the Terminator, It
Absolutely.
must have been surreal to
Oh,
work with somebody like that.
Thompson, I mean, he goes to cons
Hmm.
with a comic book box, big old box of his photos. And someone will come up and say, what are you a fan of? Oh, okay, Joe Dirt. All right, here's Joe Dirt. Cobra with Sylvester Stallone. All right, he'll pull that one out. The X-Files. Oh, yep, I was in that. Like, the man has been in everything. I mean, talk about, 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. There's like 2 degrees of Brian Thompson. Like, the guy is just all over the place. And what a, legend of a
Hmm.
performer that guy is. And I feel the same way with Ben Browder. I mean, I learned so much from watching Ben Browder on screen, and kind of, not tricks, but like what he had in his toolbox, his relationship to camera, and he knew where the camera was at all times, and how to use that as a tool, was a crash course for me. It was a joy working with those seasoned actors, and really helping me find my way in my own career.
Yeah, he was just in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 before he did
Yeah,
Hoax too.
yeah, and
Wow.
he's got a little a stint on Landman with Billy Bob Thornton, TV show.
Hmm.
Um, and I think Brian Thompson is currently doing 911, which I think is an NBC, or I may be wrong, and maybe it's ABC.
Hmm.
Um, but they're all working actors. They're all doing
Hmm.
great. Yeah.
Well, the first year I started the podcast was 2015,
Okay.
and I did 20 interviews that year, and I just dipping my toes into it. But
Sure.
one of the 20 that was on my show was Adrian Barbeau.
Ah, the legend. The
Yeah.
legend. Sadly, I was not there when they went, because they had to go to California to access that chimp. And Adrian, Matt Allen,
Mhm.
who was the writer director, is a huge horror fan. And
Yeah.
this was kind of a love letter. Hoax is kind of a love letter to the genre. And so he wanted Adrian so bad, and thankfully got her in that little opening scene. Um, she's a legend. I mean,
Yeah.
she's just you interviewed her. It must have been a joy.
Yep. Well, it kind of reminds me as you say that, because she was talking during our interview, um, how much John Carpenter was just very much fanboying over having Lee Van Cleef in Escape from New York, you know?
Yeah,
You know,
I mean that's just crazy.
yeah. But Barbeau was fantastic, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
truly, he is a legend, a living legend.
yeah. And of course, we got uh, talk about a couple of the females. Cheryl Texera is how do you pronounce that last name?
I always mess it up too. I have to see it. Tex. Yeah, I don't want to slaughter it.
It's
Cheryl.
T E
Cheryl's
X I
wonderful.
E R A
Yeah.
because she's the leading lady.
She's the leading lady, and she is a delightful human and a
Mm-hmm.
wonderful actress.
Mm-hmm.
I think she was in Always Sunny in Philadelphia. She had done a what Boy Meets World, or
Mm-hmm.
yeah. She had quite a few TV credits, and man, was she just an actor's actor, just delightful, sweet, a trooper, and just a true talent. Yeah, she is a force of nature. That one,
And another name on here was Shoshana Bush, who I remember from
Shoshana. Yeah,
Dance Flick.
yeah. And she's wonderful. She had such a great character in Hoax.
Mhm.
Really kind of this reporter that's, more concerned with her appearance, and she just crushed that role. She was so good. And then of
Yeah.
course Hutch Dano, who did a couple Disney shows,
Hmm.
was in Ramona and Beezus, and then a lovely campy horror film called Zombievers.
Okay.
That's one you should check out. And now Hutch Dano is, I think, both an acting teacher and a prolific kind of painter. Um,
Okay.
but still does work from time to time. Yeah.
I saw Ramona and Beezus in theater.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. That's Selena Gomez.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, your other titles on here I'm not familiar with, but I want you to, this is one thing I do when I'm not as familiar. I want to get familiar. So I want you to pick two or three titles in your resume here, and that
Yeah.
were
You
just
should, I mean, definitely.
outrageously awesome experience for you
Yeah.
to talk about it.
Definitely check out Hoax. Obviously, that was kind of
Hmm.
the first big one for me.
Uh-huh.
And then uh, there's a movie called How to Blow Up a Pipeline,
Did
which
you learn how to do that?
I did not. But during the course of the movie, you might get a little insight on it. Um,
Did you open
I
up the
only
script and say, darn it, I'm being scammed?
That's good. I only had a day on it, but it's a really good film.
Mhm.
Neon, I believe, was the big film distributor on that.
Hmm.
You should definitely give that a look.
Hmm.
I had a 3 episode stretch on an ABC show called Big Sky, which I really enjoyed that journey. And then I have a handful of films that are coming out. One that is just about to wrap up its festival run called Piggy Duster, which is a little indie kind of art house drama
I
between,
like that title.
yeah, between a stepfather and a stepdaughter on a camping trip in Colorado. Beautifully shot, definitely a slow burn, but it's a wonderful little film that should probably hit distribution early next year.
Oh, it
And
says here, they're interrupted by curious grizzly bear.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Okay.
Yeah, so which quite possibly may be the last time that an actual animal got used in a film that I did. Um,
Is it a
to have that,
cocaine bear?
it's definitely not a cocaine bear. You would think it is, but it's definitely not. But it's a sweet film. I think hopefully it finds a nice distribution early next year. And then I just wrapped on two features earlier this year that will be coming out next year. One is called The Man Who Changed the World, um, which is a period piece about a Colorado man, but it was a bigger film for us here in Colorado, probably a $15 million feature. And then a much smaller budget, but something I'm really excited for is a film called Uck, which is kind
Okay.
of a sci-fi comedy, dark comedy. Um, but that I was the lead in, and that's kind of what probably mid to late next year that film will be dropping, and we'll see where it goes. I'm really excited about it, and I think the only other film that the preview just or the trailer just dropped is a film called Giant Void, which is kind of like a rival. So space, but really smart. It's a great script. I think that will start hitting festival towards the end of the year, beginning of next. So I have a handful of films that are starting to make their run.
Oh, a giant void. I'm seeing on here. You get to work with Molly Burnett.
Oh my goodness, what a joy. And she delivers a amazing performance in that film. Um, Again, that was one that I just on for a day, but I really loved that script and hope that film does well.
I'm not a fan of soap operas, but my mom used to watch soap operas all the time.
Yeah,
And anytime Molly Burnett was on the screen, because she's really pretty,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'd sit there and watch, you know.
yeah. Of course,
I don't care what's going on.
I just want to watch that actress. Well,
Yeah, you
not
know.
only is she pretty, but she's incredibly talented, and I think
Hmm.
this film is going to do a lot for her.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And you also have Eileen Hendricks in that
Yeah,
film as
in
well.
Giant Void. Yeah, I didn't get to meet a whole lot of people um, when
I
I
like
was there.
her. I
Yeah.
like her because she's in Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion. And
Yeah,
yeah,
fantastic,
love that movie.
fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
good time.
Hmm. Yeah, I liked her in that. Oh, gee, I'm looking at her IMDb. I guess she was in Freakier Friday this year. I did see that in
Oh,
theater.
cool. Yeah,
Okay.
busy actors, man. Busy
Yeah.
actors.
So yeah, they're in your up and coming, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. So I always ask people, you know, you got any charities or web page or anything like that you want to plug and promote on here that
You can always go to my Instagram if you kind of want to follow what I
hmm
do. That's just my full name at Brian Landis Folkins. And that
hmm
will, I very much promote the projects that I'm working on. I'm very much a in process actor, so while I'm doing it, I will put up stills and videos from the process, and I always go back to the stage. So like I just closed a production of True West by Sam Shepard, which is the top of the bucket list as
hmm
far as me personally, which was a beautiful experience. This is a play that was originated by John Malkovich and Gary Sinise.
Oh
Um,
wow.
John Malkovich was in that role. People like John C. Riley, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Ethan Hawke have played these roles. Paul Dano. It is one of that actors chase after so they can do True West. And Sam Shepard was not only a prolific playwright, but was also a film actor and just an all around amazing kind of American artist. So, William H. Macy was at my opening night and saw me do that show. So that was pretty cool. So I always come back to the theater. I like to do at least, one stage show a year.
Oh,
Keeps me
nice.
sharp. Yeah. So yeah, for
Nice.
people that want to find out more about me, just follow me on the gram and take the little journey of an artist that's just a working actor that just loves telling stories and loves creating characters.
I just got back from Toronto. I like doing the conventions, the autograph
Yeah, yeah,
conventions.
for sure.
Do you ever get to do those or see yourself getting to do
I
those?
I haven't gotten to do them, but I definitely, I always knew Rent a Pal would turn into a bit of a cult classic.
I
It
hope
just
so.
has that
Yeah.
it has that vibe.
Hmm.
So I do see myself, and like my friends Brian Thompson and Ben Browder have done that circuit. Obviously, Will Wheaton does that circuit. So I can only hope that someday that I get to do that as well. I think fans that go to cons like that are the real big cinephile diehard fans, and I would love to interact with people that love movies. Yeah.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I've lived here in New Brunswick my whole life.
Mm.
But in 2017, I had interviewed a Canadian actress, Lisa Langlois, for the second time. We got
Okay.
talking about travel, and she
Yeah.
asked what was stopping me. And she invited me to assist her at a horror film convention in Toronto. And I couldn't say no. It was my first time on a plane,
I
and I
love
ended
that.
up
Oh
enjoying
wow.
it. I ended
Good.
up enjoying it. And I landed in Toronto, and I mean, New Brunswick here is so small, but I got
Sure.
there, all those buildings, and
Yeah.
and she taught me all about using the subway, which we don't have here, the
Sure.
shuttle buses and the GO trains. I like to try to get to Toronto at least a couple times a year, usually when there's
Good.
conventions. I
Yeah.
fell in love with it, and she helped me get a passport. I did Chiller one year with her, but
It's never
I
too late. It's never too
I
late.
yeah, I fell in love with it, and
Good.
I love doing those conventions, and but it's funny because I would say maybe about a month ago,
Mm.
maybe a little over a month ago, I'd never heard of Rent-A-Pal.
Yeah. I
Never
got
heard of
you.
Rent-A-Pal. What I've been doing, because um I review movies as well, but I don't really post it online. And it got to the point with me where I was so frustrated over movies I wanted to see that weren't coming in our theater. Because I
Yeah.
used to have a strict rule. I prefer to see something in theaters.
I get
But I
it.
was like, yeah, I'm like, oh, we're not getting this and this and this. And then there would be junk like Pearl Harbor. It's, a big
Right.
waste of time that I'm like, really? This is what we're getting? And so I got to the point where I would like go through each year, and for each month I would pick 5 or 6 movies. Actually, about I've been picking six. So I was born in 1972, so that comes 6 movies a month comes to 72 movies.
Yeah.
And when I
Good.
when
Good.
I was doing my 2020s, I had a hard time trying to orchestrate which ones had any public showings,
Sure.
because a lot of them did not play here due to the pandemic,
Yeah.
but I would be to navigate somewhat which ones played in a drive-in or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But that was how I discovered Rent-A-Pal
That's pretty
20,
cool.
2020. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna write that down.
I'm
And
glad you did.
yeah, and I was like, okay. And I chose that as one of the movies for whatever month that came out on, and gave it very high praise.
Well, I
And
appreciate
yeah, and I thought, I'm gonna reach out to this guy and have him come on. So I actually ran into this. Doesn't happen a lot with me, but it's only happened 2 other times. But I was just at Frightmare in the Falls in Niagara
it. Right.
Falls, and somebody recognized me and come over, and he was very complimentary about my channel.
Oh, good.
And I'm not a big name, but I put a lot into this, and I
Yeah, yeah.
love being able to introduce people to some of
Oh
these
man,
movies, you know.
it's wonderful. Well, we're
Yeah.
super grateful for you, man, and I'm glad
Well,
that
I'm
you
grateful
reached
for
out.
you.
Yeah, I'm glad you reached out and we made this connection and talked for the last hour. It's been really nice, man. Thank you so much for your time.
I should see if there's others from the film that would like to come on. So,
Yeah, John is always you reach out to John on
mhm.
Instagram.
Okay.
He's always willing to jump on a Zoom and talk about the film.
Okay.
Amy is very open to having a Zoom interview as well. I think you could get either of those on.
Okay. We can do that. We can do that. Get
Yeah,
more eyes on this film.
absolutely. I appreciate it.
You know what? Thank you so much for coming on
Sure.
here and blessing me with your presence. I recommend anybody listening, check out Rent-A-Pal, you know, and next time you see Will Wheaton, you won't look at them the same. Before
Well,
I
thank
let
you
you,
so much.
yeah, before I let you go, would you mind doing a plug for my show?
Absolutely.
Yeah, just state your name
Okay.
and say that we're celebrating 5 years of Rent-A-Pal.
Okay.
Yep. And say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on
Yep.
Python's Paradise.
Python's Paradise.
Go
All right,
for it.
here we go. Hi, my name is Brian Landis Folkins. We are here celebrating 5 years of Rent a Pal with Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Wow, you got in the first shot. I've had people that's been in the game longer than you. That's good.
It's a good 30 years, my friend, but
Oh, wow.
yeah, that was an easy one.
Wow, that was great. Well, keep working, keep
Yep.
doing what you're doing,
Appreciate
and
it.
I'm gonna keep watching over your filmography because I'd love to have you back on again for
Well, yeah, feel to
yeah.
reach out. And, I imagine when Uck comes out, I think that will be one that'll line up with what you guys watch. So that'd
You
be
know
great.
what? I like to promote any kind of movies on here.
Cool.
I'm open to anything, you know.
Well, I
So
look forward to the next time, Greg.
absolutely. Well,
All right,
God
man.
bless you. You have yourself a wonderful day.
Take care, my
And
friend.
absolutely,
Until next
absolutely,
time. Cheers.
absolutely. Bye-bye.